Meow, meow, meow.
Hello, it's meow time for KittenousBeast's gaming videos for cats and their people. KatzeLande Prime, Episode 8. In our last episode, we were working on completing our power plant setup, and we're going to hopefully be able to finish that today. Uh, and we have a couple of problems we need to overcome, so we'll talk through those as well. So let's get right into it and see if we can make some progress. We are at cycle 50, so I just want to do a quick tour of the facility from top to bottom and talk about the progress we've made so far through the game. So presently we're at 6 duplicants, so let's start with the duplicants we have on this asteroid and the rooms that we have. So we have this broken barracks. We need to close up those 2 tiles to get the bonus back. Glad I took a moment to take a peek at what's going on the base here. I had used this as a chance to get some more aluminum. Let's fix it. So we got our barracks for 7 duplicants, a small dining room for 7 duplicants. We'll tidy that up. Our food system is primarily composed of mushrooms, which are being interfered by this little shine bug, which we will assassinate. We are controlling the movement of our duplicants so that they're sanitizing, so that the slime is not going to cause too much trouble. So we're primarily working with mushrooms with a little bit of mealwood on the side. Um, we had just deconstructed our mealwood farms because we've now got 1, 2, 3 duplicants worth of mushrooms happening. Um, but now we're up to 5 duplicants. So really we should have 2 of these mealwood farms going to support a net um, gallery situation. Um, we do have good food reserves, so let's burn through some of those reserves before we set up another mealwood. And honestly, we may wind up with more fungal spores, so we could maybe even have enough mushroom growth to support the duplicates we have. We've got some good facilities going on here. We're still on the hamster wheel. We're almost to the point where we can use this petroleum generator. We're getting close. We've got a nice restroom here with some good plumbing, no errands to hold us back there. But unfortunately, we've run out of water in our initial pool. There's plenty of water down here. We just have to get access to it. So at the end of the episode last time, we had just planned out to get down here to get some more water. Um, what I may wind up doing is figuring out how I want to deal with the water situation. And I may just set up a pump to feed these oxyferns and not necessarily worry about a pitcher pump for research. I'm kind of planning on putting a system in place to deal with the water situation so that we're not using cold water for research. We could use hot water for research. We'll talk about that when we get to the project. Looking on the industrial side of our base, plenty of additional oxygen generation. We have a sublimator for polluted dirt. We have a rust deoxidizer for additional oxygen production, along with cooling for that system. So um, we put in this cooling loop because the ethanol is quite cold, and we can use that ethanol to cool down the gases that are coming off of this system, and then take that warmed up ethanol, store it, and then use it as fuel. Because if we use chilled ethanol in the power plant, we're going to be deleting that chill without any real benefit. So we might as well do some cooling with it before we spend it as fuel. That's the plan there. And so let's get right back into it and see if we can get some water figured out for these poor oxyferns, which have run out of water, and then develop a solution for our research, because we definitely need to finish our research before we can finish building our power plant. So let's talk about solving this issue with the water. So we have our liquid pump here. We're going to be pumping water up to a refinery once we finish that research. And we've gotten stuck. We need to build a water sieve down here. Can't really build it here because of the piping. I might wind up putting it up here. Maybe even here. Let me think about how, yeah, that might be the best. Well, there's not enough space. Kind of jammed up here with this sudden need for a water sieve. I could use the water here, but this has germs in it, so we don't necessarily want to use the water here. From this sieve, we want the non-germed polluted water to have its own processing facility. Oh, I just noticed there's a buried geyser over here. We should maybe check that one out. We've got this chlorine gas here, this pool, and some polluted dirt tiles from this swamp biome. We might want to go over here and set up our processing, but it might all hinge on what we have inside of this little geyser. So let's maybe investigate that as well. But we do have to solve this issue, so let's go ahead and put the water sieve up over here. We do want a little bit of space for it. Off to the side. So let's go over here. There. Alright. Alright, so this water sieve is going to do a couple of jobs for us. We will need to put in place some composting. Although, if we're using the sublimator, we may want to store the polluted dirt that comes off of here. So maybe let's stick with that. And we'll want a storage bin here for sand. We'll need to power it up. Thank you for assassinating that shine bug. Feel bad for killing the little critter, but really, it can't interfere with our food supply. That's not optimal. Alright. So let's get the pipes working for us here. Alright, so we're going to pump this fluid over here. There's our in. I want to flip this one around. Yeah, let's flip it. So we're going to flip our water sieve around. Just keep things simple. And hook it up to the polluted water. And then what we'll do is we'll set up a pitcher pump with some insulated tiles if we have access to those. We don't have access to insulated tiles yet. So we'll have to figure out that solution. Because we'll process some of this polluted water into clean water and then use the clean water for a couple of applications. Alright, so when I flipped it, it caused the wire to be on the opposite side. Alright, so we got this water and we're going to use that water to support our research. So I'm thinking we'll just sort of set up a temporary pool of cool water right maybe here. So let's go ahead and carve this little piece out here. We want a ladder down in there. Alright, so we'll plumb it so that there's a liquid vent right here. You may have been noticing that I've been using insulated liquid pipes just because we're dealing with some higher temperature liquid here. This liquid is kind of warm, and we want to make sure that that's handled properly. I'm a little surprised we're short on oxygen production, but it could be that we've run out of algae. Nope, we've got plenty of algae. I should probably have my rust on here now that I'm using that for oxygen production. What else do we have? We need slime on here. We've got slime, algae, polluted dirt we also want to keep track of now. Because we're using those resources to manage our base's oxygen supply. All right. We've got igneous rock here, we've got granite. Let's add an additional storage bin for metal ores so that we have sort of a centralized storage for that metal ore. Alright. Here we go. So, we've gone ahead and got our water sieve running here. That's going to be kind of a steady power drain on our batteries. So, Bert's going to have his work cut out for us while he's running furiously here. And we'll be back in business on research. Ruby already did the water delivery there. Right. Fabulous. As soon as we can get that refinery research complete, we can then direct our attention towards other matters. But it might be nice to have a nice little reservoir of water just for research. Now let's talk about why we're using this water for research versus this water down here. So this water is going to be 30 degrees Celsius-ish. Obviously this cold rust biome has had an impact on the slime biome's temperatures, but you know, once this pool runs out, we'll probably start using some of these other polluted water pools, and these have a high temperature of 32, 33 degrees Celsius, and we can pump that water into here and then use that 30-degree water in the research supercomputer. And the supercomputer essentially deletes that water from the game. So that's deleting 30-degree water versus deleting 20-degree water, which is what we have here. So, you know, just trying to be heat conscious, I'm using water that's a higher temperature in the supercomputer to delete some of the heat. And that's just a wiser choice. Do need to fix this down here, and I do need to take care of this now non-functional water reservoir I had. So we should probably go ahead and deconstruct all of these pieces of equipment. Pull up that wiring, not all the way, just a little bit of the way. Alright, so we do want to eventually start pumping water from this reservoir up into our oxyferns. Totally fine to use this 20-degree water for these oxyferns, as that'll just keep the temperature nice and stable down in this chamber. And we'll have a stable, you know, we're trying to avoid generating heat in the main base. So pull that wire down. some plumbing up. Notice I'll use regular pipes for this project. Oops. I don't mind the fact that these are and we can cut in without affecting our carbon dioxide sink and connect up this pipe. Go ahead and place a tile there just to shore that up. Alright, so we did finish our research, so we now have access to the metal refinery. Great! Okay, so with the metal refinery available to us, we can start to do some processing of some metals. So right now our water sieve is going to be running relentlessly. Eventually it'll fill up this little reservoir, and then I may disconnect this just to we'll see. I might leave this in place, maybe I won't. It's not so bad right there, but I want to get rid of some of these polluted oxygen tiles. So I'll put a deodorizer here and here to eliminate those. I'm hearing an alert, but I'm not sure what it's trying to get my attention. I don't think anybody's stuck. Alright, another food package for us. Wow, that's a strong farming skill. Another bottomless stomach? I don't think so. Alright, so let's take a look at what we've got going on here. With our skills. Bert's got a skill. He's got electrical engineering, but we do want to get him that mechatronics engineering as well. So we might start hiking up the improved carrying supply. Here we've got Lindsay with that super duper hard digging skill. We're going to need that in a few seconds if we start to dig through some obsidian. And she's also got the farming skills. So let's get her finished up with her excavation talent. And then we'll maybe work on farming next. Or maybe carrying. We'll figure it out when we get to the next skill point for her. Here comes Bert to charge us back up. We ran out of power over the night. Not surprising because this water sieve is really going to be running non-stop. And we're getting that warning about insufficient oxygen generation. 221 grams versus 314. Likely has to do with this very high pressure oxygen zone we have here. You'll notice this is at 2 kilograms per tile. It's because we've got these two oxygen production systems in place. We're going to be able to take advantage of those two and actually turn this into an early game ventilation system. But for now, we're kind of stuck waiting to get some more refined metals. So looks like we're running low on sand again. Pinch a pepper plant here. Will never grow in this low temperature zone, so I can maybe harvest that. And we've got a little bit of hydrogen here too. Not sure what I'm going to wind up doing with that. Not much can be done. It's a small amount. And I might want to just crack this open to get this additional reserve of sand. All right. Carve another pile of salt here. And what we'll probably see is this hydrogen will just sort of linger at the top of this zone over here. And probably sort of get stuck in these two tiles, which would be totally fine. All right, let's talk about the refinery. So the plan for the refinery is to plug it directly into the petroleum generator. The refinery runs pretty high energy, so we'll likely just plug it right into the generator system. Can't really place it down on this level, nor nor do I want to. The battery is kind of in the way. I'd prefer for it to be closer to the base than farther away. And this kind of gives me an idea about that concept we were talking about earlier, heat deleting um, with the supercomputer and doing research. We might even be able to just, throw some purified water into it, heat that water up, and dump it out into that little uh, water reservoir there. And then that hotter water would get deleted by the supercomputer. But I don't know if that's really sustainable for my needs. Um, so it's kind of a bummer that we've used up this space. That would have been nice for the refinery. And maybe what I'll even do is just dismantle this water sieve uh, after this reservoir fills up a little bit and build it again someplace else. That might be what I choose to do in this case, because I really want the refinery to have good access to this walkway. Um, it's going to be used a lot, so get some metal ore stored in that bin. Right. Yeah, it's a good thing I harvested some sand. It looks like our deodorizers were running a little low on sand. Okay. So we've got a good almost 3,000 kilograms of water held in reserve here. We have not yet finished this pump. Likely because the ladder just doesn't reach down far enough. So we'll prioritize that because we definitely want those oxyferns up and running again as soon as possible. And I missed my opportunity to get that part of the project done. What to do about this space here? So already this is kind of a vast open area. I could, mine down here and lower my oxyfern bank, but we've already got plenty of space for our carbon dioxide sink, so that's really not necessary. So I'll probably tile this up to move the gases all at the correct level. Um, while those pipes are empty, I can even break these without consequence, so I'll make sure that happens. And then let's go ahead and tile this up. Slowly raise the level of the tiles so that it's going to allow these oxyferns to operate at full tilt. Alright, looks like this is almost going to be done. Filling up that little reservoir of water. Fabulous. So we've got that water pouring in here. These oxyferns will come back online. Classifying them kind of like a machine. And that's going to help us deal with that. Perhaps that's the reason why we have an oxygen deficit. These aren't running. And they do provide a small amount of oxygen to the base. And they certainly help delete some of the carbon dioxide that the duplicates produce, so... Layer by layer, we've raised that floor so that our carbon dioxide sink will keep these oxyferns fully flush with the gas. It's going to work out great. Fabulous. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and disable this machine now. Right. It's going to kill the production of the nice clean water here and allow us to safely deconstruct this machine without any spills. Fabulous. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take these pipes out. And then we're going to set up our refinery. So, pulling the refinery machine out. Let's look at the pipes. Okay, so our pipe is going to be there for in, and there for out. Okay, that should be fine. Alright. And then, now that I see that the piping is likely going to connect in a couple of places, what I'll probably want to do here is delete all these pipes, but keep this one, keep that one, keep that one, and then delete the rest. And we'll just pipe the water back down into the reservoir over here. Alright, so let's do the plumbing piece of the project. Alright, and we'll bring this down, across, and back into the reservoir. So this is just going to dump that hot water down into this chamber. So this is eventually going to heat up. It's not a huge concern. We are going to have to deal with heat eventually. There's going to be a point in time where we must resolve the problems with the heat. But for now, we can just hold off on that piece of the puzzle. Alright, so let's start dealing with the electricity piece. We're going to need to bring power line up. And plug in our refinery directly into the power supply. So this is a direct plug-in with the power generation system. It's just going to make it less of a pain. I won't have to set up a separate circuit with that conductive high capacity wire. I can use my abundance of iron ore that I collected from earlier on to build this power system. And fully almost ready to roll here. Unreachable, unfortunately. So we've got to figure out a way we can get our dupes up to that vent. Let's build a little ladder here. Our ethanol still holding at 12.5 degrees. This hasn't really been running very much, but it's kept the gases coming off of this machine at a reasonable temperature, I hope. So There's no real evidence that it hasn't done that for us. Alright. So we're all plugged in, we're ready to go here. Unfortunately, without the gas generator running, we're going to have a little bit of an issue. So, let's kind of solve that problem a little bit. So, when we prepared these pipes, the goal was for us to be able to, use this ethanol to heat it up a little bit, and then use that hot ethanol to, allow for that to be used up in the gasoline generator. But we're going to also want to have the gasoline generator be able to run even if this isn't completely heated up to 35 degrees Celsius. So, we'll need to put a little bit of additional work into the piping here. It won't be too much, and it'll require us to use a little bit of automation programming, which we don't have access to the tile I need. So we'll need to do some more research, no big deal, because now we're drawing water from that warmed up source versus the cool low temperature source that we have. So yeah, we're going to need some of these advanced automation sensors. So let's go ahead and put that research on the agenda. So we're not going to be able to program a smart, intelligent fueling system without some of those tiles. Why are there... It's just a parade of shine bugs here. I have no idea why they keep coming down here. I mean, the next time I look, if there's another shine bug, I'm going to be concerned. Where do they all come from? Why do they keep trying to screw up my mushroom farm? It's almost like they have a vendetta. Okay. Oof. We're getting close to the edge of our morale on this particular duplicate, Hassan. And if we go for that, it's going to really put us on the boundary. So, let's just do it. Get that Critter Ranching 2 upgrade. And maybe we can figure out a way to improve our duplicates' morale a little bit. Just gonna check our piping here. Might be time to set up some showers. Keep hearing that alert sound, but don't know why or where it's coming from. Alright, so let's go ahead and punch a little hole here to allow this chlorine gas out. It'll get processed by these salt vines, so we don't have to worry too much about the chlorine gas. Jeez. Oh, there's no pathway there. It's too bad. Another printing pod. Whoa. That's a nice ranching skill. Cannot do digging errands. Oof, that's a bad one. Increased strength. Oh, diver's lungs. That's a great perk. Iron gut. Flatulent. Oh gosh. That's just what I need in my life. Free-ranging pockets of natural gas. I think we'll pass on that one. Cannot do digging errands. So this is a risky one to take on. If they get stuck and they need to dig their way out, she'd be stuck. She'd need another duplicate to rescue her. Meanwhile, look at this. All of them have high ranching skills. That's exactly what I've been looking for a little while. So, um, I think I'll go with the copper this time, and maybe we'll get another good combination of ranching skill dupes. I'd really like to have a few more mushrooms before we can take on another duplicate. Alright. So we'll start working on that additional piece to the puzzle once we get that research completed. Let's take a look around and see if there's anything else we can do. Got a lot of outgassing happening from this polluted oxygen. Got our generic sensors, that'll be helpful. Just kinda low on sand again, it looks like, huh? Oh no, we've got a decent amount stored here. It'll be nice to get off of this manual power generation. I'm sure Bert is sick and tired of charging that battery on his own. Look at how much water was consumed by these two research projects. So, we were up at nearly 3,000 kilograms of water here, and now we're down again to, the tiles were up to here, and now they're down to here. So we've used about well over 1,000 kilograms of water just on those two research projects to get those automation controls. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of really be careful about it. All that supercomputer research does huge damage on your water reservoirs. So you can burn through it so fast. It's necessary, but then if you can play with things and get it so that it's not going to cause you problems, why not? Here we've got an oxyfern and this little chasm here. I want to take advantage of this, so I'm going to go ahead and build a couple of tiles across here. Or tap into this, and I think the plan will be to grab this oxyfern and let this arbor tree do its thing, but alright. The oxygen has compressed the chlorine gas, so the gas didn't flow out like the way I was sort of hoping it would. That's too bad, but not much I can do about it at this point. Alright, did we get our advanced automation? Great! Finally. Okay, so with those automation pieces researched, that allows us to have many, many options in terms of our automation possibilities. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a little bit of a trigger on this valve. So the first thing I'm going to do is put an element sensor on here if I can. Alright, so the pipe doesn't allow it right now, but what we'll do is we'll just modify this. So I'll have the pipe come out, go back in, and then down in. And that'll give us an opportunity to trigger a valve opening. So let's go ahead and just deconstruct that one pipe. and then build the route like so. Alright, so we'll continue to connect the pipe here. Okay, great. So, what we'll do once this sensor gets built is we will set up an OR gate. So we'll tell the valve to open um, depending on one of two conditions. So if we are empty, so this is going to need a knot. Oh, just ran out of materials. Uh, maybe we can still do it. I think we can still get away with it without having to use that rock crusher again. Let's see. I'm really, really close to the wire on these, but close to the wire, no pun intended. Ha ha ha. Let's refine another small amount of aluminum here. So we just need to finish this project, and then we'll be able to use the gas generator to power the metal refinery and get some refined materials much more efficiently. Okay, so when this has ethanol in it, it will release a green signal. So if there's ethanol in the pipe, it'll be green. So if there's not ethanol in the pipe, it'll be red. Okay? So since there's not ethanol in the pipe, we'll move it into this not gate. That'll negate the signal. So if there is ethanol, it'll turn into a red. And if there's not ethanol, it'll turn into a green. Great. Okay. So I may even want to put a pulse on this. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so if the wait a few seconds for that refinery, and all of our guys are idle too. Those lazy dupes. Let's get some tasks queued up for them. So, break that one. All right, so let's go ahead and explore over here. I should put some like metal tiles so that they're not walking over this all the time. Just giving them some chores to do so that we can keep the progress going. Yeah, those mesh tiles will help them when standing in the water. I hope. We'll see. Duplicates are hilarious. Oh dear, they're getting some skin irritation from the chlorine gas. See, I'm zoomed in here with bated breath. What kind of... Oh dear. Oh Lord. An aluminum volcano. Okay, so this little geyser here is in fact a aluminum volcano, which is a huge, huge, huge. This is great. Uh, Huge pain, but also a huge pleasure. It means we're going to have an unlimited source of refined aluminum for the base. It's going to make having to queue up refinery operations in the refinery I'm building, not a big deal. But in order for me to even approach this aluminum volcano, I need some way of handling the heat. Um, that's right. It's going to spew out 7.2 kilograms of aluminum at 1,726 degrees centigrade, and that is a lot of aluminum, but a lot of heat. Loads and loads and loads of heat. And so we're going to have to figure out a plan for dealing with that heat before we even untap this thing. Now, let's just talk about this real quick, because if you're a beginner in oxygen not included and you see one of these neutronium posts, it just means there's going to be a geyser there. Um, but do not ever take off too many tiles. Notice I did this tile, and this tile. That's just enough to expose what kind of volcano it is or what kind of geyser it is without actually uncapping it and allowing it to spew its resources. So if I was careless and I had dug out this obsidian tile here, what that would mean is that this volcano could start to erupt, releasing massive amounts of heat into this area. Just massive. Um, Not good. So we're not going to uncap this until we're really prepared to deal with it. So nice to know that it's there. We can't really capitalize on it until a little bit later. All right, back to the main project. Okay, so we should have a little bit more refined material to play with. So we're going to do a buffer gate, and this is going to pulse. So what we're going to have this do is we're going to have this pulse for a few seconds. So if there's no ethanol in my pipe, I want this to pulse. Gosh. Get that automation wire unbuilt. Okay. I want this to pulse for, let's say, let's see, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 7 seconds, maybe even 8. 8 seconds of pulse. Alright, so we've got our automation in here. Okay, so meanwhile, we're going to put that there. Get rid of this automation wire here. Alright, so hurry it up. There we go. And we'll have completely finished the circuit. Okay, so let's walk through this once more. So what we have here is we have an OR gate. So this will allow a green signal to be emitted if one or the other input or both of the inputs are turned on at the same time. No problem. So basically we'll want the valve to open if it's at the temperature I want it to be at, which is 35 degrees Celsius. If it's at 35 degrees Celsius, it will release the ethanol and it will go into this liquid reservoir and be available as fuel. In the meantime, it's taking so long for that ethanol to heat up, I want to have some fuel reserves. Now, I don't want to load the whole reservoir with fuel because it's already at a low temperature. I want to wait for it to heat up at least a little bit. So what I'm now doing here is if this pipe doesn't have gas in it, doesn't have fuel in it, it will send a signal. It's looking for ethanol. If it doesn't have ethanol, it'll send a signal to this pulsar, which will allow me to leave the valve open for a short period of time. And we're going to set that period of time to be about 8 seconds. That will allow 80 kilograms of fuel through the system to allow my gasoline generator to actually work, even though I'm trying to use this ethanol as a cooling system right now. Hopefully that makes sense. Once they build it all, we'll be able to see it happen in action and then enjoy the benefits of having some power provided through this gasoline generator. There we go. All right, let's set this to 8 seconds. Watch that fuel load up here. right? And so now we've successfully loaded a small amount of fuel into the generator. The generator kicked on immediately, powered up that battery. The battery is all set. And now we can start refining metal like crazy. So let's go ahead and queue up some gold refinement. We're starting with gold because it's the cheapest heat-wise to produce. Only 13.2 kilojoules of heat will be produced when we do this refining process, versus aluminum, which does almost 5 times as much, copper, which does maybe 3 times as much, or iron, which is almost 6 or 7 times as much. So we're going to start with gold for refining purposes because we can use that gold. It's cheaper to refine heat-wise, and we can use it for all of our needs. Um, we do want this to run efficiently. So uh, I'm going to go ahead and put a sensor above it. That's part of the, yep. Let's see. We want to get this surround. Okay, yeah. So we'll put a sensor above it, along with. Oh, gee, we're out of materials. We'll fix it. Along with a lamp. So we definitely want this to be efficient with the lighting. And our guys are idle again. Drat. We're gonna have to figure out how to get these guys back to work. Um, what do we want to work on next? Checking out our germs. Germs are getting weaker down here. It's not completely gone yet, but it's nearly there. And we're oh, yeah, this is good. Look at that. Okay, so we've pushed the really bad germs down further into the pocket here. So we could probably put another deodorizer over here. This is just to keep my guys busy while we're waiting for that refined metal to get made. And we'll go ahead and open this up. Get that project done. Okay. Do we have enough to make it? Nope. But we will eventually. Beautiful. And really, it would be nicer if Bert was running this, but Bert's trying to do some power generation on that battery. So Bert will come over here and run this. It'll be much more fast and efficient, but for now we're just making some gold over here. And making great progress here. All right. Look at us, finally getting a big piece of machinery running, and we can immediately start to see the consequences of our gasoline generator running. Now, this is a pretty high energy task, 1200 watts, and our generator produces 2000 watts, so it can totally keep up with the demands of that machine. Not a big deal. But look at the furious amount of carbon dioxide that has been produced by this generator. Just running it for uh, a few brief periods of time here. Checking our gas reserves, right? Still got plenty of gas in the tank. As soon as this chore is over, we're going to talk about how to deal with all this carbon dioxide gas. Oh, I'm so excited about this refined gold. I can hardly contain myself. sort of consider myself a spiritual dwarf in that I love gold. Just gold, gold, gold. Yeah. Okay. Getting close to the end of the day here. Some a poker shell spawn. Great. Just what I need. Kidding. I don't really need that right now. Got a couple of interesting choices here. Nothing really tickling my fancy. I don't really know what to do with these poker shell spawns. I guess I'll let it pop out here. Maybe we'll turn it into meat right away. That sounds horrible, but... Alright. Let's take a pause here and reflect on our triumphs. So we've got unreachable build. I've got to rebuild this. Fix that real quick. Get our duplicate sensor in place. We won't be processing anymore just yet, but we'll be using our reserves of gold to deal with some additional things here. So, I've been able to capitalize on the fact that we've got this source of ethanol and can set up this power plant. And that's all great that we were able to pull that one off. Great. Top notch. Only problem is it produces loads of carbon dioxide. And you can see this chamber wasn't that full of carbon dioxide before, but only after processing a small amount of gold. So running this refinery